Hello everyone and welcome back to Algebra. In the last lesson, we learned that algebra is a way of finding missing numbers. Today, we are going to learn one of the most important ideas in algebra, and that idea is variable. So, what is a variable? A variable is simply a symbol that can represent a number. So, usually for variables, we use letters like X, Y, A, B, N, K, or any other letter which represents a variable. For example, we can say X equals 5. Here, the variable X represents the number 5. So, think of a variable as a container. So, it's like you have a box and you write X on it, and this box will contain some value. Let's say this box contains the value X equals 1. So this container can basically hold different numbers. Today it is holding 1, tomorrow it might hold 10 or even 100. So because the value can change, that's why we call it a variable. So variable is a value that can vary. So let's look at a real life example. Suppose you want to buy apples. So one apple costs $2. So how much do 3 apples cost? Easy. You would just multiply 2 with 3 to get $6. Easy, right? But what if I don't know how many apples you will buy? Maybe you want to buy 3 apples, maybe 5, or even maybe 20. So instead of thinking again and again, so we use a variable. Let's say X represents the number of apples, and we know that each apple costs $2. So which will equal to whatever cost it represents, that will depend on this variable X. So X here is basically number of apples. So the variable allows us to describe many situations in one expression. But many students think that variables are always X. That's not true. We can use almost any letter. We can say X represents number of students, maybe Y represents temperature, maybe T represents time, maybe N represents number of apples. So the letter itself is not important. It's what it represents that's more important. So let's now look at an algebraic expression, x plus 3. Can we calculate it? Not yet, because we don't know what x is here. But if you say x is equal to 4, then definitely you could say x plus 3 equals 4 plus 3, and this is equal to 7. What if x is 10? Then 10 plus 3 equals 13. Notice how the answer was changing when the value of the variable, in this case it was 4, in this case it was 10. So it's like when the variable changes, the answer also changes. That's why we call it a variable, because it changes. Now let's look at an equation. Suppose we have x plus 5 equals 12. So we want to find the value of this variable x. So can we find it? Yes. We can just subtract 5 from both sides to get x on one side, and this will be equal to 12 minus 5, which is basically 7. So initially the variable was unknown. We did not know the value of this variable x, but when we solved this equation, we found the value of the variable. So let's review. So a variable is simply a symbol that represents any number. So variables are usually letters. Their values can change. Common variables are x, y, n, t, a, b, k, just to name them. So variables help us write mathematical ideas in a simple way. Understanding variables is the foundation of algebra. In the next lesson, we'll learn the difference between an algebraic expression and an equation. So many students confuse these two ideas. But after the next video, you'll never mix them up again. If this lesson helped you, then subscribe to Algebra and join me as we learn algebra step by step from zero. Thank you for watching and see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.